Gloria is going to be running for State School Superintendent. Gloria Romero.
Hey, Gloria.
Let me just say thank you for being here this evening. I really am very thankful. Education is for the people. We pay for it, and it should be that which is accessible to all. Because if you think about it, I believe that education is the civil rights issue of our time. It's what makes us equal. And quite frankly, this economy will not go forth if we do not have an educated workforce. California, on the national report cards, we scored like 47, 48 in fourth grade reading and math scores. We have a severe crisis. 7 out of 10 African American children in elementary school do not score proficient in math or English. 70%. And then we take a look at the allocation of resources. In California, we're underfunded. We've lost ground. But it's not just about money. And we're never going to have enough money. So we have to make use of what we do with what we have and make it better. We do need reforms. We do need accountability. We find that California schools are more segregated today than they were in the 60s and the 70s. More segregation. And then we look at it, you have high poverty, high minority students. We find, sadly, the flow of teachers in the district. We tend to find the shifting of teachers with solid credentials, not in the high poverty, high minority schools. It took our country 177 years to issue what Dr. King called the promissory note on the American dream. That was Brown versus Board of Education. And over half a century after Brown was settled and Mendez was settled, we still find the data showing we have intense segregation. President Barack Obama has had the courage to talk about race in America. We can't be afraid to talk about race. It's correlated with education. It's correlated with opportunity. But if we look at our system today, like I said, if you take a cohort of 100, let's say African American students in California, 100 students that go into the 9th grade, 4 years later, only 65 remain. It's absolutely incredulous. Before I was chair of education, I was chair of public safety, which means I have visited more prisons in California than probably schools. And I always believe if we don't educate, we incarcerate. It's the flip side of the same coin. And I believe to educate a child, and I'll round up and be generous, let's say between $8,000 and $10,000 that we spend to educate a child in the juvenile justice system, we spend over $220,000 a year to lock up that same kid in the juvenile justice system. I mean, the priorities are just skewed. It makes no sense. It's about the American dream. It's about parents' beliefs that they want access for their children, not just to graduate from high school, but to be career ready, to be workforce prepared, to have access to be able to enter the colleges, whether it's community or the four-year colleges, and to make sure that they have a relevant education. Our whole structure of education, I believe, needs to be modernized. We've got to invest heavily in preschool, early education, reading. We know that our kids, if they're not reading by age 9, that's the fastest predictor of who's going to drop out, and we see it. And so waiting for high school to look for those kids, and we have close to 40% dropout rates in some parts of California, especially in Southern California. So I'm interested in doing some restructuring. President Obama also called for teachers to step up and to rethink how we conduct ourselves. The entire labor movement needs to be involved because just like my parents, labor, working families, we send our kids to the public school system. This is where janitors go, hotel workers, farm workers, electricians, IBEW, this is where we send our kids to school. So it's in labor's vested interest to make sure that the education system is working for all. I mean, I sort of have a built-in advantage, I think. Let me tell you what it is. And this is just political science 101. People tend to trust women with education, much more so. So we start out with, quite frankly, a gender advantage. Right or wrong, good or bad, old-fashioned sexism, whatever it is. Women tend to vote, voters tend to like women with education. I'm going to take it. They give it to me, I'm taking it. It's about change. Status quo has been unacceptable. I don't want the same kind of education system that we have seen because we've lost too many kids. I want to see real innovative change. I support strong public education, publicly funded charter schools that are publicly run. They can be unionized like Green Dot in LA, but they're public schools and looking at the participation of parents. So it's a statewide race. It's exciting. It's on the ballot next year. A lot of people never hear about superintendent, but superintendent runs Department of Education. That's 40% of the state budget. This is a position that is the leading voice on education in California. And we have one of the largest school systems in the world with over 6 million children. I believe it's time for a major change in the state. So I'm asking for your support. I will be a passionate and just a fierce, tenacious fighter for equality and education that's relevant and meaningful and progressive and means that that gap is closed and the promise that was offered to us in Brown versus Board of Education is real, finally, in the 21st century. Thank you for being here this evening.